Greetings, fellow classmates. Lend me your ears. Before I begin, I'd like to thank a few people. I'd like to thank Devon. If he is here today, stand up and take a bow. Come on, don't be shy. Feel free to use your cell phones whenever you'd like. Text away. Before I get into the nitty-gritty, I'm going to play some cool music from cultural places where cassava is a staple crop. And I guess I'll let the music do the work for me for a few minutes.
De Alto Cedro voy para Marcané, llego a Puerto voy para Mayarí. De Alto Cedro voy para Marcané, llego a Puerto voy para Mayarí. De Alto Cedro voy para Marcané, llego a Puerto voy para Mayarí.
Nayela pere, Nayela pese, ilere yum 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 yum. Nayela pere, mat Nayela pese, ilere yum 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 yum. Nayela pere. Nayela pere, muna kapera, chora kakisa, oyari yela pere, balunga na baire, tupa ani, a imping tuma, masanta tapage, bayu tutele, masankele yura, babantu yara, oyari yela pere, bonga na baire, tupa ani, asikul ketuma.
Alfred Dixon from the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture in Nigeria says, cassava is to African peasant farmers what rice is to Asian farmers, or what wheat and potato are to European farmers. Kind of shows you the importance of the crop itself. It is literally stapled into the culture of these people. No pun intended. In the thick of the Amazon rainforest, the religion of the Tucanoan tribes is directly linked to cassava and its spirituality. Their scriptures state that the first woman to walk the earth, an obvious symbol of fertility, was the first to plant cassava in order to feed her husband and all following generations. It is said that she nourishes all of her children through the holy cassava. It's a cute little story. It just shows you how important it really is to many religions and cultures. It is the foundation of their existence. Cassava was a staple crop of the Amerindians of South America when the Portuguese arrived in 1500. The natives relied on cassava as a dietary staple, processing it into bread and meal using techniques actually similar to those still used by the Amerindians today. When the Portuguese began to import slaves from Africa in about 1550, they used cassava in the form of this meal, farinha, to provision their ships and began cultivating cassava at their stations along the coast of West Africa soon afterwards. From their stations near the mouth of the Congo River, cassava permeated throughout the continent. Cassava crop fuels 200 million Africans and provides the world with a third of the total root and tuber production. The tuberous root is loaded with carbohydrates and starches, composing of 30 to 35% of the edible portion. In addition, it contains other nutrients such as calcium, phosphorus, and vitamin C. Although cassava does not contain much protein, the leaves do, and the World Bank compares the quality of the protein to that of an egg. The leaves may be brewed into a thick broth, a delicious soup ingredient. It is incredible how the entire plant can be reused or recycled. It really is such a versatile crop. It is a saving grace for these poor communities. Cassava is a fairly easy crop to propagate since it can flourish from stem cuttings. A hectare's worth of cuttings can produce 3 to 4 hectares worth of immature plants. These stem cuttings are usually from the middle of the stem and are around 15 to 20 centimeters in length. The shoots are dense with essential nutrients necessary to jumpstart the growth process. If available, a cassava farmer, usually a sustenance farmer, will layer his acreage with manure just before the rainy season. When the rain arrives, that is the proper time to plant cassava. However, in areas where there is no distinct rainy season, cassava can be planted year-round. It is fairly drought-resistant. Usually, sustenance farmers stagger the planting of cassava in order to ensure a steady yield throughout. Cassava must be processed with much care and concentration because the crop has an evil tendency to produce cyanide. Every bite of cassava eaten actually contains cyanide, but with small, innocuous quantities. Usual processing methods sufficiently remove the potential cyanide. However, in developing countries during times of war or food shortage, concentration dwindles, and there have been many cases of cyanide poisoning resulting in headaches, nausea, vomiting, and all that other fun stuff, really. The cassava cuttings are stuck into the ground vertically and covered with approximately 8 to 10 centimeters worth of soil. The cutting should be spaced generously in order to give each one a chance to take hold. The cassava grows rather quickly and because of the abundance of leaves, creates a lot of shade, which actually prevents weed growth. So that's kind of an added benefit. And in addition to that, many of the leaves fall off and add an extra layer of organic material to aid the production of next year's harvest. Farmers often prefer bitter varieties of cassava to ward off bugs, animals, and amusingly, crop thieves. In Cuba, the bitterest is it most bitter or bitterest? Oh well, these leaves are grinded up into a paste and eaten to heal headaches and stomach aches. I theorize that the bitter taste of the leaves just distract you from whatever ails you. Farmers who have the financial ability to rotate their crops can do it easily with cassava. It rotates well with rubber trees and can be planted alongside with bananas or sweet potatoes in order to maintain the quality of the soil for future generations. The cassava harvest suffers from PPD, post-harvest physiological deterioration. When the tuberous root is harvested, oxidation immediately begins, and after a few days, the crop is essentially useless and inedible. Perhaps in the future, with more advanced biofuel technologies, these inedible harvests will be used as a proper fuel source, but for right now, they're completely useless. PPD is a major reason as to why cassava is not exported globally. Many insects and bugs have taken quite a fancy to cassava specifically, also causing other storage issues. Some way to prevent oxidation and PPD and insect infestation is to coat the skin of the root with wax, or immediately cook or roast and salt. Here is a breakdown by country of the world's largest producers of cassava in millions of metric tons. Nigeria takes the number one spot, followed by Brazil, Thailand, Indonesia, and the DCR. Nigerian cassava production is by far the largest in the world, a third more than production in Brazil, and almost double the production of Indonesia and Thailand. Thailand, it's interesting because it is the number one producer and exporter of rice, so that tells you a lot about the type of economy they run. World production of cassava root was estimated to be 184 million tons in 2002, rising to 230 million tons in 2008. Although Nigeria is the world's largest producer of cassava, Thailand is the world's largest exporter of the crop. Although in Southeast Asia it is considered a secondary crop, it is still an important crop in terms of food security. Small farmers in Thailand and Vietnam produce cassava and sell it to starch factories locally. The topography of Vietnam varies, however, the tropical areas along the Mekong River are most suitable for cassava cultivation. Since cassava does not keep for long, it is difficult to set up large-scale starch factories. The majority of starch factories located in Southeast Asia buy cassava directly from growers in the surrounding areas. If the collection of communities is organized, local agents are employed to direct the flow of cassava to the factory with ease. It is imperative that these factories receive fresh cassava before the quality dwindles. Cassava harvest cannot be stored for more than 2 days. The end roots are chopped off to temporarily halt the oxidation process, and larger factories actually employ locals to run their own plantations to reduce the wait time between harvest and obtainment of the crop. In order to create cassava flour, the starch granules must be separated from the root. Both products can be used for human consumption. This is a 4-step process. Number 1, the peeled roots must be crushed to isolate the starch granules. The pulp is then strained from the water used to soak the roots. Number 2, the extraction is repeatedly washed until there is no residue in the water. Number 3, all water is then removed and the paste is left to dry. Last but not least, it is then fine grounded and vacuum packaged for export.